when we say Windows operating system, what comes in our mind nowadays, right? As you said, we are teenager. We just have finished our eighth grade, right? So,
Yes, ma'am.
so then in that terminology, so I'm not asking you to go back two pairs or in history of the Windows operating system. So just look at the consider the latest trend, right? We still have it in our production environment. Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 10. So those are the Windows operating systems. Excuse me. Those are the Windows operating systems. Uh, and they were independently the only operating system in certain era of time, like Windows 7. Windows 7 is an upgraded from Windows XP or Vista. You might heard about those terms. Excuse me. Yes, the sound is too loud. Too loud. Uh, Windows 8 is introduced Metro user interface, right? Metro user interface that unifies. Oops, what should we do? What you want me to do, right? Uh, okay, let's try to. Those are the simple stuff, right? So it won't uh, it won't be difficult to understand because the terminologies are common, right? Where should I put this text box? Is this okay like this? Okay. So Windows 7 was an upgraded version of is upgraded from XP or Vista, and uh, 8 was introduced the Metro user interface that unifies look and as a combination of Windows 8 was basically launched for both laptop computers and tablets, so tablets or desktop has a mix of impression where you need an touch input and you need to swap the screen from one page to another page, right? Or you can also work with the stylus input. Well, like it is also like about 7 years or 8 years back when it was launched first time. I was pretty much excited that I can swap the screen and I can write down on the screen. I can have my own input in on computer screen. That was excitement. But what didn't long for it didn't last for long because it has some security issues and some it slowed down the process. Then it updated to 8.1. This is an update to the Windows 8 environment and improvement similar for the users with devices that touch the interface. um, Windows 10 is an update from the previous version of Windows. Previous versions of Windows were the users who were working with the Windows 7 and Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. Uh, they s- they updated from to Windows 10. It is designed for that's an operating system which is designed for both PCs. PCs means desktop computers and tablets, embedded devices. Embedded devices are smart devices which use a processor in Intel's hardware. And the Internet of Things devices. Have you heard about Internet of Things devices? Any of you? Well, IoT is also a latest trend in it's a booming technology, IoT, Internet of Things, right? So that's basically according to that technology that excuse me, that's uses basically embedded devices in internet works together, so we can control uh, any device which can be identified by an IP address, right? Any device can be any device, like it can be your is any electronic device, right? So which can be a sun, it can be your car, it can be in any mobile thing, right? Which you like to control, uh, a device which you like to control, and can be assigned an IP address. Then we can control or communicate with that device using the IoT technology. So you might have heard about smart things, smart city, right? So some countries are developing. It's not for today, not for today or not for tomorrow. This technology is in its way, right? So some countries are developing smart cities where the things are all controlled by the IoT. So it is whether it is Windows 7 or 8. This is the way it was upgraded, right? Is 7, 8, or 10. Well, basic functionality is same, right? Basic theme is same. Most of the features are common, with some advanced features from 7 to 10. So we going to look at the common features, right? So common features in 7, 8, and 10. So you can make a transition easily from 7 to 10 operating system. Uh, so compatibility is important issue. Compatibility is a concern related to any software you are intended to install on your computer. So the operating system also checks the system compatibility and checks whether the system meets the uh, hardware requirement, whether it is an Ubuntu or OS, operating system X for Apple or Windows. Those are the three main vendors. Well, that's an open system, right? But it has a name, Linux, originated Linux and Unix, right? And that's not an open system. You have to purchase from Apple Store, or you have to purchase from Microsoft. So the features we be discussing in this topic, in this section of the course related to Windows, um, because I think you have separate course to address the Linux operating system. So to make an operating system recommendation, so what are you going to recommend to your client or being an IT technician, right? You cannot just say, hey, go get in Windows 11 on your computer, right? Because that is the latest. Well, you need to check first thing, um, what your client computer type, right? System, check system and hardware requirement, right? So if you're going to give your client an suggestion that's the only operating system I'm going to suggest to work on your computer, you're going to lose your customers, because definitely you didn't check his system compatibility in the hardware requirement. So, system compatibility and hardware requirement means you must review how much you or your customer can afford. What are the budget constraints? You remember I gave you an assignment earlier for CPU purchase, and I gave you some budget that how much you can spend to purchase a new budget, a new CPU, right? New system. Well,
Yes, ma'am.
it's all about also what is your application, where you going to use that computer, right? So you should learn how the computer will be used, determine which type of application will be installed, and whether a new computer may be purchased or not. If you have to have Windows 11 on that computer, then you definitely need to purchase a new computer. Your current computer may not work with the Windows 11 if you like to update it. So there are some guidelines provided by the operating system designer, Microsoft or Ubuntu or OS X, to help to determine which one is the best for you and your customer. So does the customer, let's check two things to verify the compatibility in the hardware requirement. Are you guys following along?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Good. So check two things to verify the compatibility. Well, I remember sometime when I asked you people to initially set up, not in this course, not in this course. I think I'm teaching you another course as well, right? The same group. When I ask you to set up some virtual box and for to set up some uh, uh, operating system, some peoples have an issue of installation because their system, they didn't check the system compatibility, right? So if you didn't check a system compatibility, you just start installation, then you may crash your system, you know. So the first thing you have to do, does the customer use off the shelf application for this computer? Off the shelf application specify a list of compatible operating system on the application package. And you can also check with your customer that customer whether or not customer use the customized application and that were programmed specifically for the customer. So there are some customized applications of the shelf applications. So customer, if the customer is using a customized application, then the programmer of the application specify uh, which operating system to use. For instance, you use a customized application VirtualBox, right? Or VMware, or you use Hyper-V, Hyper-V inside your server, server operating system. So there are also applications which you can install in your server operating system. Well, that's not the course to address them in this IT essentials. I'm just giving you an example. So those are the customized application, Hyper-V, VMware, Oracle, VirtualBox, or many more, right? So when you are installing those customized applications, which you need them, right? Not Microsoft is asking you to do that. or the not the operating system is asking you to have those customized application, then you it also provide the information. This platform or this platform will provide the information. What is the best operating system to install? Whether the will this application works with Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10. Well, they simply classify by saying Windows version 32-bit and 64-bit. I'm coming to this point. What does it mean? 32-bit and 64-bit version of operating system, right? And then they give the another option that you can install with the Apple 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 type of computers. So, what is this 32-bit versus 64-bit processor architecture? I think I addressed uh, um, this piece of information in our hardware session. Uh, 32-bit Windows operating system in x86 processor. x86. Have you heard about x86 processor?
Yes, ma'am.
You like me to explain, or I can just use the same term? Well, x86, quite an old, if we go back in the history of a processor. So 8086, not too old, not too old, it's like about 20, 25 years back. Intel's launched 8086, uh, first processor, 8-bit processor. It was the first 8-bit processor. Then they moved on 80. This is the 86 series, right? And they moved on 186 and 286 and 386, and they reaches to the 586. Then 586 was in Pentium, and then from Pentium they move on to the Core, um, and so on, right? So that is what is the latest processor you have, no matter, but they are referring, they have their roots to this 8-bit processor, right? So they refer this root to 8086 processor, which was the first 8-bit processor. Or sometimes they also referred 8088, but we commonly use the 8086. So that was x86. x86, when the x is a series, right? X is a series of the processor. So from 8 to Pentium, they reached to the 586, and that was a 32-bit processor, right? 32-bit processor. Well, when we say 32-bit processor, an 8-bit processor, or 64-bit processor, I think I gave you this thought. I remember now. Yes. Uh, what does it mean? Yes. Anybody remember what this 32-bit processor and 8 bits? Well, you can check it in your computer. How do you check in your computer? You go to the system. So system will give you the information. What is it the 32-bit processor and 64-bit processor? Check it out at your site. You will see there the information about your. So there is yes. Does anybody remember what does it mean? Or 64-bit means the data bus size. That's reference to the data bus size, right? So processor can process 64-bit of data or 32-bit of data. That's important, right? So if it can process a 64-bit means four 8 bytes of data, right? 8 bytes of data. So it makes the system faster. That's a faster than 32-bit, right? This is faster because
Yes, ma'am.
it can process data 64-bit at a time, while this can process 32-bit of data, right? 32-bit of data, like memory locations, just need to go 2 times to memory to get 64-bit of information. But if it is an 64-bit processor, it brings 64 chunk piece of information from the memory and process it. It makes the system faster. Um, it's capable of this kind of 32-bit system. 32-bit, then we classify the operating system. A 32-bit operating system which runs on x86 based system, and then we have 64-bit operating system which runs on x64-bit x64-bit, which is the 64-bit processor architecture. So x86 uses a complex instruction set computers. Try to remember those terminologies. Six and RISC. There are two type of architecture used in computer system. x86 processor use fewer registers than x64 processor. Registers, I think I told you those terminologies in when I explained you the CPU. Someone remember?
Pardon, can you please repeat?
You know what is inside the computer? Well, I'm not going to repeat the whole story of
No,
computer,
ma'am, I was
but
just asking that question
okay,
last.
okay, no worries. So main guys inside the computer, CPU and memory. Why those are two are main, and the other are helpers, just helpers. Many more things we address about. Those are just helping CPU and memory, right? So memory holds operating system in application software, right? So your operating system was initially in hard disk. So BIOS helps to load your operating system from hard disk to memory. Remember, but CPU has nothing to do, no job. Where is the job for CPU? Where is the job for CPU? The job for CPU is in here, right? In memory. What the CPU need to do? Who tell the CPU? Well, it is here, right? You get the instruction from here. You give the any instruction, A plus B, it is here, not to this register. You cannot communicate directly. There's low level programming required. That's a different programming language. I work with those both high level and low level programming languages. Anyways, so you put the information here in the middle. So what the CPU need to do? CPU get the information. How does it brings a block of information? It brings a block of information by reading the memory, 16-bit of block or 64-bit of block. 16-bit of blocks means 32-bit of blocks means eight memory locations, and then 16 memory locations at the same time. 32-bit of blocks of information or 64. Well, it brings a 64 block of information, for instance. This is what I'm going to do, right? It brings, hey, this is my task and I need to perform. So this process called fetching. So it brings the information from memory and it's bring it here and start processing it. Just like, you know, so well, inside the CPU, it performs some results, right? Where it gonna put it? Well, it does need to do like A plus B and then divided by C, for instance, right? I'm giving you a simple example. It bring this instruction from memory. There's user want to do this. So what it gonna do? Well, it performs A plus B Well, where it gonna put the result, right? So should it go back to memory and ask, hey, hold a plus b, I'm going to divide it by c now? It won't do like this because it's gonna waste the time. So what the CPU inside itself has, it has its own memory, which we call cache memory, and we talk about in our hardware session, L1 cache and L2 cache. And on the top of it, cache memories, it's like in 64, like in megabytes, right? It's not in gigabytes, but in bytes and megabytes. So it has inside some registers, plenty of registers. Registers, you can think of a small piece of memory. How smaller it would be? 64 bits. Make sense? 64-bit register or 32-bit register, just holding a small piece of information. One instruction fetched from memory, it hold it inside L1 cache, and from L1 cache to registers. Complex, right? That's why don't want to tell you those complex things, because it may be for harder for you to digest, you know.
No,
So
ma'am, we
let's
got it.
got it. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
excellent, excellent. So you understand there are two main things inside computer, but everything is here, operating system in memory. But who tell where is going to be processed? In CPU. And CPU itself has its own registers. Just like you tell your friend, can you hold it for a moment? I'm gonna get back to you and do the rest of the things. Similarly, CPU has something like this, registers. It brings information, 64-bit here, if it is a 64-bit operating system. From, okay, go get an instruction, what should I do next? CPU send an instruction to the rest of the hardware, and hardware help him to bring that information. That's a bigger story. We don't need to go that detail, right? So this one comes here where the CPU gonna hold. It's not just working on one instruction. Remember, it's working on tons of applications. So it keeps, okay, keep it here, line it up here in cache, right? So it brings information, line it up here, line it up here. And then CPU take from one job done, it takes from cache to here. Let's come in and I'm gonna process this information. So it process it where it gonna save intermediate register results in registers. The size of this register basically defines this. This is the size of registers inside CPU. So this is a 64-bit register. Okay, it can hold a 64-bit of information inside it, right? So it process and put it back there, and then process and send back to the memory, and from memory to display, etc., etc. So uh, hopefully you guys are following along. So x86 processors uses fewer registers than 64 x64 processor. So 32-bit programs are stored in, where does it go? Under program files. You check you say C drive. Go to the C drive now and see, you're gonna see two folders there. One is explicitly says program files, and other says programs files x86. If you
Yes,
see,
ma'am.
yes, if you see x86 there, then it is for the application program which can run on only 32-bit system. Some applications have, like some people have older systems, like not having 1.8 gigabits clock, right, or processor. then they can still entertain their VirtualBox using the 64-bit, 32-bit version of VirtualBox, older version of the VirtualBox application and something like this. If you are stuck, well, you're stuck, it doesn't mean that you stop working. It does not mean that, right? So there is always an alternate solution. So 32-bit programs is stored in this file folder on your C drive. So 64-bit operating system use capable of basically 128 plus gigabytes of RAM. Enhanced performance, additional registers allows CPU immediate access to the data, specifically for instructions that uses 64-bit address space. That's another thing. 64-bit address is space means, well, how much memory you can have. 4 GB memory here. You know why 4 GB? Because its data bus size is 32-bit. If there is a link between data bus size and the amount of the memory which can work with that processor or motherboard. You know why? Because 2 raised to the power 32. Calculate it in your calculator. It should be around this and divided by 1024. That's a 1K unit of the data inside the computer. So 2 raised to the power 32. So this gives you the something close to 4 GB. And 2 raised to the power 64. It's trillions of memory. It's a huge memory you can have inside, more than 128 GB. What a difference between 4 GB and 128, because that's the size of its address bus, right? So address bus size, and that's the size of a data bus, so it can manipulate that amount of the memory. Can be, well, you cannot just install 128 GB of memory in an X86 6-base system. That's not possible because it's not compatible. Right? There's no compatibility between this and that. Right? So it provides 64-bit operating system provide additional security features. That's an advantage. Why we are moving on and on and on from one operating system to another operating system. When this game is going to be over, no end. It sounds like, right? Because we are more vulnerable to the threats and intruders, and we need more security features, right? So where we can find more security features when the operating systems, when the Microsoft says upgrade it, go get it upgrade, do the upgrade on Windows 10, get new security patches, right? So more complex instructions can be executable. The 64-bit operating system. So that's in a 64 architecture is backward compatibility. Well, you have an x64, I have x64 operating system, but I can still work with 32-bit operating system applications, right? Because of the backward compatibility. But a 32-bit system, if you have installed Windows 7 for 32-bit, it has 2 flavors. In Windows 8 32-bit or 64, it has 2 flavors. Why? Because it depends on your hardware, right? There should be a compatibility, otherwise they cannot work together. So in order to, you cannot install a 64-bit operating system in a 32-bit system. You understand what I mean, right? You cannot install a 64-bit operating system on a 32-bit system, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so type of operating systems, we have two main classes. One is desktop operating system, and another is network operating system. What is the desktop operating system? Well, you guys are working with desktop operating system, right? Uh, it is used for a small office, home office environment, like I am using Soho, right? Soho, a small office, home office, like I can connect the two, three, four systems, right, together. It can communicate, having on same network infrastructure, right? And share resources, something like this. So I need a simple operating system like Windows 7 or 10. I don't need to install server on my machine. Not at all. Why? Because, well, I'm managing a small Soho network, right? In home environment, like five computers or something like that, right? So they're connected, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to set up one server and managing four systems. Not really required, because we have solution. We can use this one of them, 7 or 8 or 10, whichever you like to work with. So it supports single user, shares files and folder on a small network with limited security. Well, in home setup, we are not vulnerable to about the security concern and threats, right? Because the users are known, who is going to use this computer, your sibling, you, or maybe your visiting friend. Um, Microsoft Windows, Apple Mac operating systems, and Linux those are the examples of desktop operating system. Now, another class of operating system is network operating system. So it contains features that increase the functionality in networked environment. As you're doing another course with me, right? So that course basically connect both desktop and network operating system, right? Network operating system contains features with increased functionality in network environment. What is the networked environment? Well, network environment is not limited to single user. It goes to multiple users, like more than 10 or 15, right? Something like that. Then we call the multiple user environment, not for 4 and 5 or 2 or 3 peoples, right? So there you can manage a work group and manageable, right? And well, 5 users, well, we can go for 5 users with the work group management. Excuse me. So, but here we manage the domain, right? For multiple users. So there's a domain of users which are sharing um, the same functionality of the network and sharing the resources. So multi-users applications run there, right? So multi-users applications are robust and redundant, provides increased security compared to desktop operating system. You'll see how to employ the security in network operating system. So example of network operating system, well, the same thing. Linux provide Linux server, Windows provide Windows server. Apple doesn't provide Apple can be a client on your on your network environment. So here is a block diagram, pretty much what I have explained. Some people's learn by looking at the graphics. So if they didn't get me in the my verbal explanation, just in case. So here is your operating system of any of one, three, right? So this is, excuse me. So this is sitting here, right? Your computer hardware. Well, you know what does it mean, right? So we are working on this side now, right? So this was our part one, and we're working on this side. So operating system, application, what application? I named some of them, right? Just Microsoft Office, VirtualBox, VMware. What else you working with? And you sitting here, or your customer is sitting here, right? So you or your customer communicate not directly to the operating system. You communicate through application. You open an application like PowerPoint or something like that, Word document or VirtualBox. So VirtualBox can communicate with operating system. You understand what I mean? And then operating system tell the hardware, hey, the user now going to share your this hardware among different virtual operating system, right? So that's an hierarchy you can see to understand the operation of operating system in the machine. How much time we have? Okay, we have plenty of time, no worries. So customer requirement for operating system is important, right? Before you recommend an operating system, the being a technician or being a user even, right? So those are the things you must consider. Like you cannot just install any operating system on any machine. Uh, you know, you must see what customized application need to be installed. Well, if you are willing to install VMware, connect it to network, right, and relate it to your work environment, then you must check the hardware requirement for each of them, right, in the software requirement for them. Review budget, that's important, Can you afford it? Well, because those doesn't come free. Linux come with Office. Learn how operating system will be used and which type of application be installed. If a new computer need to be purchased, finally, end it up. Okay, no other solution. You have to have new computer, right? So that gonna be the last recommendation. Like I ask you to install an operating system. I'm gonna ask you right in this course. I grade you your previous work. Uh, so well, then if I'm asking you to install an operating system, you definitely need to purchase a computer, right? Right? Well, that's gonna be the last step. So we go through like this. Before I recommend you to install an operating system. You understand what I mean? Because if I and you need to install an operating system on your computer for this course, go get purchase a new computer. How many of you would follow that instruction? Not
purchase a
even.
new system.
I'm just asking, how many of you would follow that instruction? I think zero number of peoples. Am I right?
No, man.
Really?
It will be difficult for purchasing a new total new system.
Yeah, the total new system. See, now you start worrying. So that is same happen to any customer when you're going to suggest to purchase a new operating system, a new system, because it cost, right? No matter what is the outcome at the end, but it cost, and they start worrying. Hey, I really need to purchase a new system. Uh, you know, well, I give you the solution then, right? We will go over the virtual setup and to 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 avoid a new purchase, right? So that's another thing. That's another thing because you're going to learn something. But in production environment, the scenario could be a little different. So use compatibility mode when you have an application that was created for earlier version of Windows. Okay, how are you going to check the compatibility? How do you check the compatibility? Have you ever checked the compatibility on your computer? Uh,
Not for computer, ma'am.
for operating system?
No, ma'am. I've checked for games and applications.
Application compatibility, yes, you have to check it, right? So, well, operating system need to be upgraded periodically, no doubt. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck. To remain compatible with the latest hardware and software. If you don't upgrade your operating system, some people disable automatic options of operating system. There's an option, right? In control system, if you go there in control panel. So there is an option which allows you to update your operating system automatically. Whenever there is a new update provided by the your operating system, like Microsoft, I'm thinking most of you using the Microsoft operating system. Am I right? Is there anyone who is using Linux as an operating system on their machine? Linux can do the same job for you, right? Without spending any money, without purchasing a new operating system. Canada stand for using Linux as an server operating system on their server. You know, because Linux is free and most of the internet application uses Linux operating system because the organization don't need to spend money, don't like to spend money, right? Anyways, so before upgrading the operating system, check the minimum hardware requirement of the new operating system to ensure that it can be installed successfully on the computer. So Microsoft provides Get Windows application. That's a tool, right? So, that is automatically downloaded and installed via the Windows Update Service on your computer running Service Pack 1 and Windows 11. Like a Service Pack means that's updated versions, right? They put all the updates in one package after the first release of the 7 or 8, something like this. Question if you have.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the things are straightforward. Hopefully, you're getting. Uh, so we don't have any strangers today, right? I forgot to block. I think so. Yes, I forgot. There's no stranger today, right? In this class. Do you know that? I didn't get any input.
I don't think so, ma'am.
So Windows op operating system upgrades. How did you upgrade your Windows 10? Have you performed any upgrades
Yes, ma'am.
last time, like
It just
in
downloads automatically and installs when we
so
shut down the computer.
yeah, because you enable that option. If you disable it, it is auto enabled when you install it,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
in any operating system, like in Windows, whether it is server based or network operating system or a Soho based or single user operating system. I use the term client operating system. Single user means the client operating system in a network environment. So we have uh, we need to determine what updates are available. For example, a 32-bit operating system cannot say, I have a 32 bits operating system. What if I upgrade it to 64-bit? Simple. So she told us 64-bit is more secure, faster, can process instruction faster, right? Make the life more easier. So you upgrade from 32-bit to 64-bit. Make changes in your hardware as well, right? You understand what I mean? So you cannot just straight upgrade to 64-bit operating system. Windows 7 and Windows 8 can be upgraded to Windows 10, but Windows Vista and XP cannot. Just like Windows Server 2003 cannot be upgraded to 2012, but 2012 can be upgraded. Windows Server I'm talking about in terms of network operating system, NOS. Well, 2012 can be upgraded to 2016, right, and so on, right? That's an upgrade path. But not all the backward operating system can be upgraded to the latest one, like Vista or XP cannot be upgraded to 10. The 7 and 8 can be upgraded to the Windows 10. So there is an update assistant uh, to upgrade from Windows 7 or Windows 8. Well, I have machines which were updated from Windows 7, and then I have another machine which was updated from Windows 8 to Windows 10, and Windows 7 to Windows 10, right? So how do you do that? So update assistance available when you download the Windows 10 website. So there is an update now option, right? So if you go to the Microsoft download center and you download the Windows 10 from there, well, you should have purchased it definitely, right? And then there is an option like update, excuse me, update now. So update now will walk you through all the steps in Windows 10 setup process. Any of you have updated Windows 7 to Windows 10? 7 to 10?
Yes, ma'am.
No?
I did. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, When you say I did, who is this?
Surinder Singh.
Gurinder Singh. Okay. Okay, Gurinder. So out of the 55 people's class, only 1% updated from 7 to 10. Really? I'm
Ma'am, like
surprised.
there are many false update also. It can crash the system because every time it shows that need updation. So I just need a verified updation for it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But sometimes you update, yeah, you made it update manual, right? So yeah, you can disable the automatic update to the manual. So it asks you whether would you like to update it. Well, it's not letting me to disable this option. How to get him? Let me check it out. I think 1% is in because I just have anybody in waiting room. I don't think so. Oops. Okay. So and then this is not what I'm asking. I asked different question, but that's okay. You answered it. There's nothing wrong because you disable the auto update. Yes, you can, but it's not even recommended. But sometimes people complain that they perform an update on their computers, and since the time they perform, this computer becomes lethargic, slower, and take more time or stuck sometimes, right? So you can revert back the updates. There's an option in Windows to revert back to as it was before by following the last good known configuration. I'll tell you those steps, don't worry. As we move on, and well, I was wondering if any of you had updated from 7 or 8 to 10. Did you, any of you had followed that update path? That's in another upgrade. This is update in upgrade. Two things are. Don't mix that up. Update and upgrades are little different. Upgrade means from lower version to higher version, right? Update means you are using the same version, but you got some security patches and some new features inside it. If you go like this is upgrade. But you follow along the update assistance tool of the Microsoft downloader center path, or from 8 to 10 or 7 to 8 and then 8 to 10. No, really? I'm surprised. So you purchase a brand new computer has a Windows 10 installed as you are a teenager, right? Correct? No? Okay. Having a that feeling. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can you yes, please respond to the question.
I was laughing at your joke, ma'am.
Say yes or no, put
Ma'am,
up and
it's
down.
not audible.
But I was laughing, ma'am.
Okay, think about it. What I'm asking, then you can type it in the chat box. If anyone had followed that upgrade path,
Is downloading Windows 10 and installing it counts as an upgrade?
yes, any one of you had followed,
Like after we install, there are upgradation, like a package upgradation and a manual upgradation, I guess. Okay.
that's an update. You had Windows 10 installed, for instance. Now Windows 10 is directly available to be installed, right? But on the earlier version, when you had a 7 and upgraded to Windows 8, and you upgraded to Windows 10. Any of you did that one?
Does downloading Windows 10 from browser and then installing it counts as like upgrade from Windows 7?
No.
Like you are telling to change the operating system, or you are just telling to upgrade a operating system, like upgrading a Windows 7 or upgrading a Windows 8, or changing to Windows 7 to Windows 8, Windows 8 to Windows 10.
Yes, that.
Okay, let me clarify this confusion. I got your point of confusion. You know, like in 5 years or 5 years back or 6, 7 years back, right? Windows 7, 2000. It was launched in 2007. Yes. Uh, so you had one of you, for instance, is using Windows 7, right? For instance, Windows 7, and then when you were using Windows 7, then Microsoft announced its new operating system, Windows 8. Then you decided to move your computer from Windows 7 machine to Windows 8 machine, right? And what is this process called? This process not called update, it calls upgrade. You understand?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and then when you were working with Windows 8, like uh, 7 years back or something like this, then Microsoft says, hey, it's time to spend more money for Microsoft. you know, because we are launching Windows 10. So, Windows 10, 8 users getting frequent message from Microsoft and prompting them 10 is for free, right? For an year. Do it now. Just like in, vaccination, I would not use that example here, but that wasn't free at that, like in 5 years, 6 years back, Windows 10. Windows 10 is free, was free, and the users were motivated to move their computer from from Windows 8 to Windows 10 machine. But that is not an update. That is what we call upgrade. So this is an upgrade journey from 7 to 8 to 10. Uh, you know, but if you're using Windows 7 and you stay on Windows 7, you're not going anywhere, right? So you stay in Windows 7, but Windows 7 notification tray will remind you there are some upgrades are available, updates are available. So go get them download. If you have disabled the auto upgrade updates, right? That same operating system environment, whether it's a 32-bit or 64-bit, but the operating system doesn't change. You just did a little update on it, right? So there was a path most of us were adapted. And I was just wondering if you did the same path or not, but none of you had followed that path,
Like
right?
we have worked on Windows 7 and Windows XP since our childhood. Like now we are just upgrading. We have upgraded to Windows 7,
We
Windows 8, Windows
like
10.
we basically used cracked versions, so there
Yes.
was no updates.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's what happens in India.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my God.
we really
When
use the
you
little version.
when you
We
buy a
cannot
new laptop or
we
a new PC,
because I'm here for a pretty long time, so I followed all those scenarios because of the copyright concern, right? Because I cannot
yeah,
use it.
but in India, just like the sellers just install cracked versions and just distribute laptops and PCs. So basically, there's no
That is
updates.
important. Otherwise, and it caused the security threats. That's crack version. Free things have some concerns. If you got something free, it means there's something is going to be happen. You should be ready mentally for that. You know, um, if lucky, you might escape, right? That's another thing. You know, but Microsoft followed along. Now I got your point. I understand now. But when you come here, you spend 10 years here working in different Canadian organization, you would better understand this slide then, right? Uh, so there are two options, upgrade and updates. Now Microsoft says, okay, come to our download center, click on download Windows 10. Well, if you're working on a brand new computer, well, you don't have to install Windows 7 because she told us you can upgrade it from 7 to 8, 8 to 10. Well, that's a scenario when you had a 7 there, right? But now you have an option. Go to the download center, download Windows 10 directly, purchase their product key, and then install the operating system straight to your computer. But after a month, there are going to be some updates, right? And those are important to be updated as the time passes. That keep your system up to date. This is what we call keep your system up to date, right? Otherwise, well, viruses will attack your computer. You know, there are security concern if you don't follow this upgrade because this Microsoft 10 is not just 100% perfect for several years. You have to update it. Otherwise, uh, your system or customer system is going to face the security threats. You understand the importance of upgrade and updates. I'm hoping that computer running Windows XP or Windows Vista do not have an upgrade path. This is important to understand. Upgrade path. This is what we call upgrade path. Upgrade path, right? That was an upgrade path from this way into this way to this way, right? So this is upgrade path. But the XP cannot be upgraded. I have an older system, Windows XP. Can I upgrade it to the 10? Not really. Um, because there is no upgrade path is available. You have to do a clean installation. That Windows 10 installation media can be created using a create Windows 10 installation media tool. I think I'm going to stop on this slide because if okay, let me give you one more thought. Just one quick thought. Uh, System requirement for Windows 10 or 8.1 and Windows 7. Well, check this first box. Pretty much same, right? Pretty much same. Okay. That's why they have the compatibility, right? Hardware spaces, hard drive space, 16 GB or 20, 16 GB at least, 16 GB at least, pretty much same. The difference comes up in the display type here, in display type. More enhanced feature of like more graphical features, Windows 10 looks pretty attractive and charming to the user. That's how they attract the users, right? They make it attractive. Hey, it looks beautiful. It has a beautiful backgrounds and images and videos and games, right? So, and they move on to the Windows 10, right? Because of the graphical uh, this property of the display. It supports 800 by 600 and 1000 by 768. Those are the pixel. We address it in the hardware side. So connection, internet, it's necessary to perform the updates in some features. Necessary. Everything is same, right? So from drivers to processor. So whether you practice in this learning environment,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so you have question. So for what we discussed, I got some chat messages.
No, man.
Yeah, I asked for 1 minute time. Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
You cannot hear me? Really?
No, ma'am.
Well, check your system just well. The speaker system, you might muted me. Like, check it
Your
out.
voice is cracking today. Like your voice is not properly audible today.
I'm not properly audible, really?
Ma'am, your voice was
Why you haven't told me earlier? How many of you cannot hear me? How many of
yes, ma'am.
multiply by 2 speed? My voice? I am fast, really? I
Ma'am,
tried to go
like,
slower.
it's because of the internet connection, ma'am. Like your voice just stopped, and then the whole sentence was spoken.
Well, I mute for 1 minute, 1 minute before, and I ask you, okay, next time let me know when it's happening, okay? So then I can help you better. If you're having a difficulty, like my voice is not reaching to you, well then you should tell me better at that point so I can check my connectivity. But I'm connected to you peoples, so it doesn't say that I'm disconnected. uh Maybe I check the quality of my headset. It should it's how about now? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, most of the people says my voice is crystal
Yes,
clear.
ma'am, it was audible.
Yes, thank you. Just in case if it was not clear, so please report me at that point so I can help you. After passing the class time, really I cannot go back and and fix my voice. Uh, it was not that bad, hopefully.
It might
Just
be the issue from Jaspal's end, but
just
like internet issue.
yes, sometimes the other side internet, just well, where you are located physically. Are you really in Nepal or Philippines or in India? Where you are located? I'm curious now. I don't ask those things to students, but I'm curious. Yes, where you are located. Okay. Yeah, that's maybe the internet connection problem at your site. Check it out.
It's monsoon season, ma'am, so sometimes it just messes
Well,
up.
we cannot just argue, right? Everybody gonna
Yes,
say
ma'am.
I have good things. Anyways, uh,
Yes, ma'am.
It may be from Jumsand.
I don't have those kind of issues. Anyways, I'm running those online classes for almost 1 year.
And again, your voice
So
is cracked.
my voice is not clear.
Yes, ma'am. It was gained in the super speed.
Yes, ma'am. No, we not always are wrong.
What should I do now? Let me open my window.
Are you using a Wi-Fi, ma'am?
Try connecting through the Ethernet cable. My suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Try connecting using Ethernet cable because it makes your internet connection 10 times better.
And stable.
Yes, it's stable as well. True. So when you have to go online classes, so my better advice is when you're connecting to the classroom, because I'm not sure about the routers you're using, the home routers.
Well,
Uh, uh, so Arjun has an Bell router. Okay, it means you're local, right? So you're locally. Uh, okay, so I can check my voice quality with Arjun, right? Because I'm using the Bell as well. Anyways, I'm not making an advertisement for them. So
sponsored, ma'am, you can sponsor that.
no, that's not my job. Anyways, they have their own means to advertise their things, products. Um, so how about Arjun? Can my voice is good at your end?
Ma'am, now it's good. Like sometimes, like I just told earlier, the voice was just cracked and the voice was at like not at the normal speed. It just get a pause and the speed was like double.
Fluctuation. It may happens, it may happens, maybe the Saturday time, people's are
Might be,
busy
ma'am,
watching
internet is also
some
just
some some
enjoying the
crazy
weekend today.
stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it can be from the Zoom. Many uh, options. Yes, some
Might
packet loss. Yes.
Bell workers must be on weekend.
Yes, ma'am. We should go with the attendance, ma'am.
Yeah, suggest them not to schedule me for Saturdays, right?
पूरा
Then you
कार
can
लग
you
गया कार
you
क्या देख रहे
you, you can have a clear voice then, right? Oops, I opened the uh, wrong one. One second. So just a few minutes left before this meeting. So let me get to the attendance tab quickly. So please do respond me when you hear your name. If you cannot speak up, no worries. You can type in the chat box. There are two options to respond me. Well, the first better recommended option is you speak up, give me your voice input, and otherwise you can type in, just in case if you couldn't, then you can type in the chat box, rather than asking me after 2 days to mark your attendance. Amandeep Kaur is there. Amanveer Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Arjun.
Completely present, ma'am.
Arshdeep.
present, ma'am.
Gurinder Singh.
Present.
Gurleen Kaur.
Present, ma'am.
Rajat Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Harmeet Singh.
Present, ma'am.
Jaspal Singh. Jaspal Singh. I couldn't hear. Absent.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Jitanpreet Kaur.
Kaur present, ma'am.
Jitanpreet Kaur.
Yes, Jatanpreet Kaur present, ma'am.
Ma'am, Jaspal is present. He's
Jurbanpreet.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Jaspal has some internet connection problem. Jobanpreet Singh,
Ma'am.
Jobanpreet Singh number 2,
Present, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Present, ma'am. Junpreet Singh present.
okay. Karanbir,
Present, ma'am.
Kulveer, Lovepreet Kaur,
Lovepreet Kaur.
Kulvinder Singh present, ma'am.
Present, ma'am. Lovepreet Kaur.
Lovepreet Singh,
Lovepreet Singh present, ma'am.
Manisha,
Present, ma'am.
Manjot,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Manjot number 2,
Present, ma'am.
Manjot number 2, Mahakdeep Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
hmm? Yes, one second, I'm checking something on my machine. Can you check under SSO, Jaspal? So please let me finish my attendance. If you ask something in between, so you better wait until I complete the attendance and or you check the SSO if you have any concern or confusion. Muskan,
Present, ma'am.
Neha,
Present, ma'am.
Parminder Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Twinkle Jot,
Present, ma'am.
Rajvinder Singh,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Robinpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Simarjeet Singh,
Present, ma'am.
Sukhmanpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am.
Sukhpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
please avoid to ask the question which distract the track. So if you have some individual concern, you wait until I finish some current activity. Somanpreet Kaur,
Present, ma'am. Sumanpreet, present, ma'am.
okay. Vanshika,
Present, ma'am.
Bhavesh,
Present, ma'am.
Manvir,
Present, ma'am.
Sarvapari,
Sarvopuri present, ma'am.
Evjot,
Present, ma'am. Present if using.
Kapil. Kapil is there. Kapil, can you hear me? Divjot,
Present, ma'am.
Ma'am, Kapil present.
Divjot is here. Hello,
Present, ma'am.
why don't you respond?
I responded earlier.
Okay. I couldn't hear. Um, Komalpreet,
Present, ma'am.
Navjot,
Present, ma'am.
Navjot, car number 2,
Present, ma'am.
Navneet,
Present, ma'am.
Tushar,
Present, ma'am.
Mohit, Mohit,
Present, ma'am.
Sahil,
Present, ma'am.
Ranveer, Tanu,
Present, ma'am.
Shahbaz, Shruti,
Present, ma'am.
Monisha, Shahina, Akashdeep,
Present, ma'am.
Harjot Singh,
Present, ma'am. Jyot is present, ma'am.
okay. Karanbir,
Present, ma'am.
Kamar Paul,
Yes, ma'am.
Vikrant,
Present, ma'am. Vikrant present, ma'am.
Okay. Anish?
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully this session is useful for
Excuse
everyone.
me, ma'am.
Excuse me,
Yes?
ma'am.
Ma'am, you mark me absent for today. Manjot Kaur.
Well, you should respond me, right?
Ma'am, I spawned you, but I don't know why you mark me absent.
Well, I
Excuse me,
couldn't
ma'am.
hear.
Kulwinder Singh, present, ma'am.
If I couldn't hear you, then I cannot mark you.
Ma'am, but I...
Remember.
Please, ma'am,
So
mark
you
me
make sure that you're
present.
responding.
Okay, ma'am.
Kulwinder Singh also present, ma'am.
1 second.